Welcome back to episode 5 of Echoing Vitality podcast with your hosts, Taylor, myself, and my husband, Josh Blakley. I'm really excited to introduce Josh in this way because this episode is going to be all about his story and his why behind his path that he's chosen, his path to health, his path to becoming a Chek practitioner and going the 5 years that it takes to become a Chek, a clinical, what is it called again?
Yeah, master practitioner.
Oh, master practitioner. Yep. There we go.
Right now, I'm a clinical specialist level 4 at the time of this filming. But by the end of the year, I'll be a master practitioner.
Yeah. So all the different terms. Every year, he just keeps progressing and expanding and learning so much more about how to heal the body, help his clients heal. And I just think it's such a really cool way, cool path that he's taken. And I've gotten to witness a lot of it. We'll go into our story, mostly Josh's story and kind of how I was there too, but I might be learning some things too, just because the nature of this, and you'll understand more as we get into this podcast. But I'm really excited to hear what you have to say, my babe.
Thanks, my babe.
That's what I call him, my babe. He's mine.
Yeah, I call her Taylor babe.
Yeah, he likes calling
Sometimes.
me. Yeah. No, you do. You call me Taylor babe.
Yeah.
Every now and again. So He calls me Taylor babe, ma'am. He calls me ma'am a lot, actually.
Jokingly.
Jokingly, babe, it's all the time.
I joke a lot, I guess.
Okay, so where do you want to begin?
Shoot, man, let's begin at the beginning.
What's the beginning?
The beginning would be...
Is this like your childhood?
Shoot, man, we can begin in childhood, yeah.
Okay, I think that would be a really cool place to start because you have some perspective on, how you were as a child and, what your thoughts about that now are. And I would like to just know a little bit more about that too. I'm sure our listeners would as well.
Yeah, I'll give a short synopsis of my growing up. I don't want to go too far into it. My parents got divorced when I was, 2 or 3, something like that. I don't know for certain, 2 or 3. I grew up in Cincinnati, Ohio. I would go see my dad every other weekend. And my mom was a babysitter. So she would babysit kids from infants up to 16, 15, 14, however old, till their parents felt like it was okay for them to stay at home. I got to spend a lot of time being very active. I was very outdoorsy, playing sports, backyard sports, I would say, street sports. We'd play things like, football, baseball, just in our backyard, basketball in the driveway, etc. I feel like I was always a bit of a go-getter because I would be very forward into, wanting to play sports and be active and stuff, go outside.
Oh, another thing that I think you should preface is your timeline. Like how you aren't great about your timeline.
Oh gosh, yeah. I suck at my timeline, which is a whole thing I should work on. Mm-hmm. I have worked on it a little bit, but just chipping away at it here and there. So we're still in the kid phase. But one thing I noticed as a kid, reflecting back, is I always wanted to be healthy. My grandma smoked, my dad smoked too, actually, at the time. And my grandma was a drinker, dad was a drinker, still is a drinker. And
alcohol,
I remember as a kid, like going to like Meemaw's house, and she'd be smoking and drinking, and my grandpa, her husband, he didn't do anything like that. He was actually the very healthy one. And, you know, he would
This
go...
isn't your biological grandpa?
No,
Is that why
no.
you say my Mima's husband?
Right, yeah. I mean, I called him Grandpa, but yeah. Anyways, he was actually the healthy one, and so he grew a garden. You know, Mima was involved in this too, but I just preface that she was also had very unhealthy habits, smoking and drinking. But I remember going into her house and seeing, like, she would smoke in the house. You know, this is back in the 90s. And I remember just, like, smelling it and just being grossed out by it, even as a young kid. You know, she did have, I don't want to badmouth her. She was very healthy, too. She was very health conscious for what she thought was health. You know, she
had a garden, right?
Yeah, her and Grandpa had a huge garden, so we would eat food out of the garden. So we're learning these different aspects of the importance of food at a young age. And the importance of getting exercise. Like, Grandpa would always get up really early. He'd always go for a walk at the park. And, you know, so subconsciously you're learning a lot from their actions.
You're learning a lot.
I'm learning a lot. Well, I say weird because I had two brothers, but I'll say I. I learned a lot.
Or we.
Yeah.
Not your.
Yeah.
Language.
Yeah,
Matters,
language.
you want to own your story, which is why I say that. And I just wanted you to remember, like, this is your story, so.
Yeah. But yeah, I also remember seeing those negative traits as, like, dang, man, I don't want to do that. And I don't know why the hell you're doing it either. Like, I remember telling them or asking, like, oh, why do you do that? Why don't you stop doing that? Maybe not in those particular words, but however I did it as a kid. You
questioned it.
I questioned it, yeah.
And how old were you when you feel like you were questioning that?
Shoot,
range?
I don't know. Maybe 4 to 6, 7.
Okay.
I think. Because I remember going to their house when I was 4, because I broke my arm when I was 4, because I jumped off their truck and landed on my arm. So yeah, it's a funny note. Yeah, somewhere around there.
He's always been a daredevil and just...
Yeah, pretty much. I mean, I couldn't even tell you which arm I broke. That's how messed up my timelines and shit are. So anyways, that's a good foundation to the childhood, I feel like. I also remember being more on the side of a lover, not a fighter. Because I remember, you know, there'd be bullies in our neighborhood. Of course, there's fucking bullies everywhere. Excuse my F word.
I don't think you need to excuse it.
Okay,
Podcast
I did preface that in episode 1. I might cuss a little bit.
No, just be your real, how you would tell a story.
Yeah.
I would love that.
Okay. I do remember, like, going to the park, and, you know, sometimes we'd be playing basketball. You know, when you're playing basketball, people get competitive, and sometimes people end up fighting.
This is street ball, right?
This is street ball.
This is street ball.
We're talking 8-year-old street ball and 10-year-old, however old I am. But yeah, I do remember maybe 5th grade area watching 2 of my friends. They started fighting, and I just remember they were, like, on the ground. And I remember, like, running over to them and, like, pushing the kid off of him. I'm like, dude, stop fighting. And
you're like, that's not cool.
Yeah, so I feel like I knew a lot of. I feel like I had a lot of healthy habits as a kid.
Healthy
naturally,
social norms, like, it's
I knew
socially not acceptable to be a bully. But,
right, yeah. Like, I don't know, I feel like I naturally just knew these things as a kid.
I think another piece that you're missing is, so you had that side of your family, like your Mima and your grandpa in Florida. And then you also lived in a household where your mom babysat a lot.
Yes.
And the types of foods that was there. What influenced you on that side. So I want you to speak a little bit about that, because that's an entire other half of your life, you know?
Oh yeah, my life was essentially the brand Hostess. I'm sure you're all familiar with that. And Little Debbie, and Oreos, and Nabisco. Every junk food you can think of, we had it in the house because my mom would buy it So all the kids had snacks that she babysat, including us, of course. You know, she would cook a lot too. My mom's a good cook, so...
Delicious. She's a great
Yeah, but
chef.
we had sodas all the time, snacks all the time. I do know she, for the most part, had limits on, like, oh, you already had your soda. But I don't think it was all the time, especially for us as her own kids.
Maybe sneak a snack in here and there.
Yeah, probably. Yeah, so I ate a lot of shoot for food. I was a rebel as a kid, like most teens. As a kid, I did do a lot of work. Like, I would shovel driveways for money, help the neighborhood for money, sell stuff, you know.
Who do you think you learned that from?
I think my grandpa, honestly.
Mima's husband?
Yeah, I
That
think
grandpa?
as much of a bad guy that he may seem like, and
To you growing up?
to my mom growing up more so,
Okay.
and to me, you know, he was also abusive to us. He wasn't all good, but he had really good habits that we learned from.
Yeah.
He was healthy, like I said. He walked, he grew a garden. He was very financially aware. You know, he always encouraged us to go do stuff to make money. When we would go to their house, he would pay us to do tasks. You know, hey, I'll give you $5 if you go stack that firewood, or
So
you know
that
what I mean?
helped with your teen years.
Yeah,
Like,
yeah.
influence that.
Oh, yeah, of course. You know, they would pay us for various tasks, and they would take us to, like, flea markets or to the store, like, oh, you guys have money, so you can buy it. You know, it wasn't like they were buying our stuff all the time.
Yeah.
Or I should say, they weren't buying my stuff all the time.
Going into your teenage years, I know you had mentioned to me before that that's when you really started to value health in a whole other sense. So, like, working out, like going to the gym, like you played sports, not necessarily at school, but like you were active. Like you were like,
Yeah.
I like being active, right?
Yeah, I was always too nervous to get on the teams, and I think I've talked about it a little before. I wish I would have been just pushed a little bit more. Like, dude, just go do the team. Well, I did do team. I played soccer, t-ball, but there was a transitionary period where it was in 6th grade. You go from elementary school to middle school. Not every school is like that, so that's why I want to preface it. You go from a smaller school where you know everyone to a middle school where, like, 3 different schools conglomerate, right?
You went to a much larger school.
It was a much larger school, yeah. And in 6th grade, but halfway through the year, my mom took me out and we were going to try homeschooling. My brother had tried it. It wasn't working for me for whatever reasons. So I went back to school in 7th grade. And I felt like I didn't know anyone, so I was very shy. And of course, you get older, teen, whatever, hormones and shit happen.
All the hormones and poop.
Yeah, I mean, you just change, right?
Yeah.
And so I felt like I had a complete 180 of, like, knowing everyone, outgoing, talk to people, did sports, involved, to avoiding all of that in 7th grade. And
Do you feel like it was just too nerve-wracking? Like you didn't... Like,
I don't know.
Like you were too embarrassed, or,
I'm not sure. I'm not sure. Maybe just was shy, or didn't have a... feel like you step foot in this brand new place even though it's not. But, like, you feel like you don't know anyone anymore. Or, like, the friends that you had grown apart from you and they have their own circles now.
Yeah.
You know.
Like that was stripped from you and now it felt lonely.
Yeah. Yeah. I guess so. You know, I did have friends who were cool and I hung out with all the time, but
yeah,
in 8th grade, I do remember I got into working out. I wouldn't recommend this now, but I had my mom had bought the Ab Lounge. Do you remember the Ab Lounge?
Is that like thing where
it's
you
like a blue chair that
Yeah.
just it's like a lawn chair that doesn't lock in place. It just goes up and down. You know, there's like a strap that you hold on to and you do ab exercises. But I actually remember being very into that and doing it, and I would do like push-ups and at night and calisthenics basically. I didn't really lift weights, but that's when I started in 8th grade doing that kind of stuff. And then in 8th grade, I moved from Cincinnati, Ohio to Indianapolis, Indiana, another new school. And it was a big school.
Much bigger than the middle school.
Much bigger than the middle school.
And then you're kind of older at this. You're older, but you're the youngest again.
Right. Let's see, freshman year, how old are you? Like 14, 13, something like that?
14, roughly.
That was also intimidating because I come from a more suburban area where it's all white, essentially, with the exception of like 1 or 2 black kids or Mexicans or whatever, to a school that was the size of a small college, like a community-sized college, maybe even bigger, to be honest.
Yeah.
And it was white people, white kids, Caucasian, were the minority in this school. So that was intimidating to me.
Yeah. So you were the minority in this school at this point.
Oh, yeah, totally. However, you meet a lot of good people there, you know. I still talk to some of the people I met there, here and there on Facebook and whatnot. And actually, that was a really fun year because there was a lot of kids in our neighborhood. We played basketball in our driveways almost every day after school, even through the winter. And again, never joined the team, but I played a ton outside. Street ball.
He is a street baller.
I was very into and one, actually, if you guys know what and one is. It's a street ball thing. They don't really do much anymore, but...
so it sounds like you had a bit of a culture shock.
It was a culture shock, yeah. I mean, yeah, I would say so.
But then finding basketball, that kept you active and social, friends, you know, that kind of...
Yeah, it taught me a lot, like, okay, in the 90s and white people and through movies,
Is this
you
the
know...
90s?
No.
Oh, okay, sorry.
Not the 90s.
2000s?
So, my point was going to be, when you watch movies and shows and the entertainment industry, they don't exactly paint black people and Hispanics and things like this as great people. It's always gang related. It's always like they're involved in crimes. And so that's like, as a white kid from more of the suburban area, that's like the image you have in your head when you're going to this school. And so you're like, oh shit.
Yeah.
But then you learn everyone's cool. So it was a really good lesson, you know? I was like, oh, these people are fine.
Yeah.
You know?
These are my friends.
Yeah, they're my friends. Yeah. So it was, I think it was a good move, actually. You know, you can always find the positive in your situation. And I think that was one positive.
Yeah. I think that's pretty cool. So after this stage of your life, you guys ended up moving again, right? Yep,
moved again after the freshman year out to Idaho, where we are now, Coeur d'Alene, Idaho, with my grandpa, who is a Coeur d'Alene tribal member. He's passed away now. But we moved into a little town called De Smet. He had 2 bedrooms. One was his, and one was mine, my mom's, my older brother, and my younger brother's. 1 bedroom, 1 bathroom. I know we had like a foam pad on the floor. You know, of course, someone had the bed and the couch. And another culture shock, though. Another culture shock. De Smet is probably all tribal members, I would guess, right?
Pretty much.
But yeah, that was a culture shock because I'll tell a little story. Basketball was still in our lives. My brother and I were pretty good at basketball, I felt. There were these 2 kids who you went to school with, actually. You know these kids. But I didn't know them when I moved there.
Yeah. And I didn't know Josh at this time, just so everyone knows.
Yeah, we didn't know each other yet. This was this was the summer before my sophomore year of high school at Lake City in Coeur d'Alene. But Jerry and I, Jerry's my brother, older brother, we'd play basketball, and there were these actually, my brother ended up getting a girlfriend in De Smet who was native. And there was there were some natives who did not like that. They did not like that. And so I actually remember walking around De Smet. There was parts where I wouldn't walk because I was too nervous. But I remember venturing out one day, I think it was with my younger brother actually, and this dude was on his bike just cruising around, hanging around us, and I was like, what the fudge? Like, this is weird. And granted, I'm only like 14 at this time, you know? And
14, 15.
this dude who looks like he's in a gang, like huge baggy clothes, got a bandana, cruising on a BMX bike with pegs. He's like questioning us, like, are you that white kid with my cousin, or, you know, something like that, kind of just like trying to be intimidating. And I remember being, you know, just answering his questions like, no, dude. Anyways, so that was a bit of a culture shock.
Yeah.
I'm like, what the hell, man? Like, I am not welcome here, essentially.
Yeah. Which is so unfortunate.
It was unfortunate, but then there was the kids you went to school with. To get back to that story, we played basketball with them.
Yeah.
They wanted to challenge the 2 white kids in De Smet. And so we actually played them. And I think we played the 21, 2-on-2, at the, again, in the streets, if you will.
Yeah.
And
street balling.
I remember it was like 20-19 or something like that. And Jerry and I were ahead. We needed 1 point to beat them. And I remember driving the ball against Carlos. He was supposedly the best one in the area. He's like, oh, they're going to kick your ass. And I remember driving the ball. I was about to lay it up and finish the game. And he pushed me into the pole so we wouldn't win. And I hit my elbow really hard. It was a metal pole.
Shoot.
I couldn't shoot anymore. It was my right elbow. I'm right-handed. And so I relied heavily on Jerry, and Jerry ended up scoring the last shot. So we beat him. Wow. And I think that maybe got us some respect, to be honest.
It's kind of funny how that works, like just beating, you know, and you guys are essentially kids.
Yeah,
right?
we're 14 years old. Like, what the heck? What is going on here in this place?
It's so funny how that works.
Anyways, so that's my story about De Smet. Unwelcomed, but I think we gained respect a little bit.
Let's see. So you moved to Coeur d'Alene.
Yes, moved to Coeur d'Alene for my sophomore year of high school.
And then so let's just stay on track with like the being healthy.
Yeah.
You know, like what drove your decisions to be healthy, and then the adversities that you experienced like as you got older, you know. So so
I always remained like I wanted to make healthy decisions. For example, I think after my sophomore year, sometime in high school, I don't remember when, I was very conscious that soda was bad, fast food was bad, and I think I made the decision in high school that I was never going to eat fast food again.
It's pretty big, actually, when like most of your peers are like, "Hey, let's go to McDonald's.
Oh
hey,
gosh,
let's go to Taco Bell."
During lunchtime,
Yeah, you living in town, it's just so easy to just go get it, you know. And didn't your school have like essentially junk food or fast food or something like that in the school?
They did, yeah. In the school, they would actually sell Taco Bell and I think it was just Taco Bell and Pizza Pipeline, which doesn't, I don't think it exists anymore, but
I don't know, actually.
you know, I in high school, I might have only decided to not eat McDonald's because I was like, everyone's like, oh, McDonald's is bad, but really it's all the fast food.
Yeah.
Eventually, I stopped eating all of it. I drank energy drinks like most people do in high school. And
what was your go-to?
This drink called No Fear.
Oh, never heard of it.
Yeah. I didn't drink Red Bull. I thought it was freaking gross.
I know drinking all of I just remember that being, and I'm pretty sure it's like still a thing. Like it's so cool.
Yeah, I drink. It was a cool factor for sure.
All these energy drinks, and I remember doing that in high school as well, like a couple of times, like Monster, Red Bull, and I was like, well, this stuff is disgusting. So I also never really drank that. Like I tried it a few times, and I'm like, this stuff is disgusting. I can't, and it hurts, like the carbonation. Another reason why I don't drink like soda. It was easy to give up soda, like all the bad soda, anyways. So.
Yeah, I don't know when I gave up soda. I think it was probably after high school. Funny story about soda. As a kid, I used to put multiple packets of Sweet and Low in my soda, and my mom was okay with this.
Oh my goodness. That is so gross.
I did it because it was fun.
Yeah.
Mostly. Because when you pour Sweet and Low in your soda, it fizzes like crazy. And so I would do it, and I would try to like suck as much soda down before it would fizz over the cup, you know?
Oh my gosh.
So it was more of a fun thing, yeah. It was more of a game than like, ooh, I need more sugar.
What kind of sweetener did you say?
Sweet and Low.
Oh, Sweet and Low.
Yeah.
It's all the artificial gunk.
Yeah, I can't believe I did that. It was freaking crazy.
How many packets do you think you'd put in it?
1 or 2.
Oh, okay.
Or sugar. I think sugar in general, maybe.
All right.
Very unhealthy.
So, when you were in high school, you decided, I remember you decided to like work out and you got into parkour. I'll talk about that a little bit.
Oh, yeah. In my sophomore year, I got into parkour. I think just watching Jackie Chan. And YouTube was starting to become really big. Parkour was becoming big. And just watching videos, you know. It's like, oh man, I want to learn how to do that. So my brother, our other friend, and myself went into the wrestling room at Lake City High School, and we tried our very first wall flip. And I remember all of us belly flopped. We didn't land on our heads, but we didn't make it to our feet.
And I'm pretty sure it's still out on YouTube.
It is still on YouTube. Maybe I'll link it in the show notes so if people want to watch it.
It's pretty funny.
The quality isn't good, I'll warn you there, but you can tell what's happening. But I do remember from that point, also, I was not very keen on failing things. And so I went home, watched some tutorials, and the next day, I landed it.
Oh.
And I was like, all right, that was pretty freaking dope. That was pretty cool. And so we started going to open gyms at the local gymnastics place. And eventually we met some other friends there at the time, and we all started up the parkour program in 2010 or 11.
When he first showed me that, I'm like, oh my gosh, you guys are wild.
Yeah, and that took me a lot of places. You know, traveled a lot, met a lot of people.
So during this time, though, you were experiencing a lot of like health issues.
Yeah, so this is now getting into the health issues part. I started having, during the parkour phase of my life, which I still like to do it every now and again, stay healthy and strong and play. But to keep on track with the story, I was very strong, I thought. Many other people probably think the same thing, to be honest, not to sound egotistical, but I was just a very strong person with my body weight, relative to my body weight. Yeah,
you're 5'8".
I'm 5'8", 135 pounds at the time, probably. You know, I'm only 140 now, so not a huge difference. I'm still about the same size I was in high school.
Yeah.
Roughly. Actually, I still have clothes that I had in high school today.
And he still wears them.
I still wear them, yeah. Which is crazy. This was 15 years ago, 16 years ago.
And sandals, too.
And sandals, too. I've had the same flip-flops, the Jordan flip-flops, for like 16 years.
Yeah, it's so funny.
But yeah, I want to keep on track. Even though I was very strong, I thought I was healthy. I was having major back problems intermittently. I would have days where it was just like hard to walk, or, you know, the pain was just a lot, where I felt like I couldn't go train and do parkour or free running.
I remember those days.
Yeah, and I would also I was also suffering from constipation and diarrhea. This would be classified as IBS by your doctor, which is a catch-all.
Which also at this time, just to put this memory out there, I remember how grumpy. That's the word I'll use. Yeah. Grumpy. Like, when I first met him, as you guys know in like the other episode, like, I was like, ooh, he's kind of grumpy looking. He's cute, you know? Entirely, like, off the scale grumpy at this point. You know, and and we're new in our relationship, and I just remember being like, what the heck is your problem, dude?
When you're in pain, you are grumpy. Mm-hmm. Because your body's like, dude, the fudge are you doing? So it gives you signs. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
It speaks to you. And when you don't know, I mean, you're young, going through this, all this pain, embarrassment, you know, like, and you have a girlfriend, you know.
I have you. I have you.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Me, yes. And you're just going through this pain and not knowing where to, like, direct your frustration. And so that became me. And you know, I'm looking at him like, what the heck? There are good days, of course, too.
Oh, yeah, totally.
Lots of good days. But there would just be, like, moments where I'm like, what the heck? It's just parkour. Like, it's just, you know, just because you can't go outside doesn't mean, like, it's the end of the world. Like, I just remember, like, the grumpiness just did not match what reality was a little bit. And so I also was just in a really busy state of my life. And so I think it was easy to just, like, brush it off because I was going to school, in Plummer, but lived in Coeur d'Alene, as you guys may have heard in the last podcast.
Yeah.
So I was gone literally from 6 a.m. until sometimes 5:37 p.m. every day. So that was my norm, Monday through Friday, and then the weekends. But then he would work, you know, so it was just a really strange time for us. So it was easy to brush it off because it was like, well, whatever. This is our only time we have together. So
yeah, we were pretty separated for the most part, to be honest. Like most couples are even nowadays. It's like you leave for work, you go to work all day, and then you don't come back till the evening, and you guys go to bed, right? You don't spend a lot of actual time together. I lived and breathed parkour. If I couldn't do it, I was probably grumpy too. Like, I wanted to do it in the morning when I woke up. I'd be like asking my friends, like, hey, you guys want to go out and train? Like every day, I'd just be kind of obsessed with it. It's like all I wanted to do because who knows, maybe I wanted to just get out of the house. It was fun. It was athletic. I enjoyed it. Many reasons, but Taylor, babe, over here, did not like how much I did parkour. Because while I was doing parkour, I also was working 2 jobs, and I was also going to school in IC. I was working at the Raven where we met, and then I was also coaching parkour in the evenings, and then NIC, whatever classes were, and then homework, of course. So it was a very busy time for both of us. But yeah, so relationship-wise, it suffered because I was so unhealthy. But so if anyone's listening, you're irritable because you've got stuff going on and your relationship's suffering, I just encourage you to, maybe it's not the relationships that's the problem. Maybe it's that you just need to find the right help to help your gut problems or whatever you've got going on. I think it's important because, like I said earlier, when you're in pain, you will be irritable, and that reflects in all aspects of your life.
there's usually an outlet, right?
Yeah.
Of where you let out that frustration.
Yeah.
And that tends to be significant other.
Yeah.
You know.
Or your kids, if you have kids.
Yeah, if you have kids.
Or your parents, or whatever. Your coworkers.
Yeah. During this time, because we were so busy, these few years of school, work, and just trying to navigate being in a relationship, being so young, I think we were like trying to make it work as best as we could under our circumstances. I may have felt like a little reliant on him and his family as like safety, security, and the fact that how he asked me to be his girlfriend, like he's in it for the long haul. So a lot of these things, and like I loved him so much, and like my love for Josh has just my babe has just grown significantly over the years, but I just remember like weighing the pros and cons of like, I deserve to be treated like a queen, essentially. Like that was my energy, and I wasn't getting that type of energy, except I would sometimes. Not that it was like dysfunctional by any means, but it was just I didn't know what my love language was. Necessarily, I didn't even know what that was at the time. But now knowing after all these years, quality time is my love language. And even when we would like hang out together, but we had a lot of friends. Like you and your friends were like always there, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like
Yeah.
they would be at our house all the time. And so like even though I was sitting on the couch next to him, there was just a lot of people over all the time.
Yeah, we always had somebody over.
Always.
Always
and,
hanging out with somebody, yeah.
Mm-hmm. And so, like, we just never had that much, like, alone time outside of our, like, busyness. And so when it was downtime, it was, like, lots of friends over. And then even me, too. Like, I would have friends come over, too, every once in a while.
Yeah.
And so it was just... we didn't have the opportunity to like truly grow and expand during this time, like in our relationship. But what I think happened during this time was a lot of self-discovery. So in this self-discovery, I think we both went on separate paths, side by side, kind of understanding what each other's going through. But in your early 20s, you ended up going to the doctors to try to figure out what that constipation was about and what that diarrhea was about and the constant pain. You know, you didn't go there to like talk about I'm grumpy,
No,
moody,
definitely
you
not.
know, like you didn't go there to talk about those sorts of things, but you did go there to try to fix something that I didn't even know you were truly going through. Like
Yeah.
I had no idea. So I'm like, what the F is this guy's problem? You know, and I'm like, all right, get it together, you know, like just be happy. And I've always been just like a happy-go-lucky. So like I would just be like, why is that such a big deal? But to him, like it just was such a big deal to like miss certain things. And I felt like that was a good teacher for me because I saw like his persistence as well. You know, after all these years later, I didn't enjoy it at the time, but that's one thing that I have grown to love about him is his like willingness to just like keep going. Like just, even though I'm in pain, you know, like I want to go, but sometimes that pain would just be too much. And so that is like, like I want to do this. Like his love and passion for being active, being healthy was really awesome to see. And I had just never like understood that. And so it would really just rub me the wrong way where I'm like, dude, you are choosing to spend so much more time away from me, which I thought maybe I was being very selfish as like a young woman in a relationship. I'm like, this is interesting. So, and you know, I was going through my own health stuff too, like kind of at the same time, also kind of private.
Yeah.
Because I didn't talk to him about my period. Like there was one time I had to ask his mom, I'm like, do you have a pad? And she's like, no, I don't. And I'm like, oh my gosh, this is so embarrassing. And so it's just...
yeah, we didn't talk about anything like that.
no, bodily functions, none of that. And so if either one of us was just hurting, like it came
private.
out, it was private, but it came out as in frustration.
Yeah.
So like it was embarrassment that we were trying to avoid. And so we just didn't know how to like talk to each other and communicate. You know, I look back and I'm like, holy cow, like how did we get past all of this? Because health was just so up and down. It was a roller coaster in our early years on top of school. Like I think about it, like the stress of school in itself and finances.
Oh yeah.
Right? Like just all of it. And that's like, we just were kind of thrown into this like relationship in a way, having to do and deal with like real adult stuff when we've barely been an adult.
Yeah,
so
I didn't know
that's
shit.
super stressful.
Taylor knew a hell of a lot more than I did as being an adult. It seemed like she taught me quite a bit. Yeah, I do want to tell a funny story though about. So Taylor and I were very private, but cleansing had become a thing. And
Oh my gosh, this darn story.
Taylor and I thought, we should try a freaking cleanse or something.
Oh my gosh.
I remember, I think it was at Costco, we found these acai pills. And acai was also becoming popular at the time.
Very, very popular.
like,
it was
okay.
all the rage.
Let's freaking try some acai.
It's so healthy.
So we took them I think it was in the evening. This was very early on in our relationship, and we lived together, as you may have, again, listened to our last episode.
Maybe barely 2 years, like maybe a year and a half or something.
These acai pills, let me tell you, they clean you out. And
they cleaned you out real good.
That's when Taylor and I got to know each other's bowels. Because it's like we were in the bathroom so often.
Oh my gosh, it was so bad. Because neither of us wanted to say anything. Like we took these darn pills not knowing how severe the diarrhea was going to be. Like we thought, idea. Just a nice little cleanse. No, this was our...
this was
first
like colonoscopy preparation.
Our first experience with literally liquid diarrhea because it was so intense of a
so nasty
pill, like this supplement or whatever. this colon cleanse. I don't think it even used the word colon cleanse.
I don't remember. Yeah,
like I don't remember that at all. I just remember like cleanse, acai cleanse, like replenishes you. And so I remember like coming out of the bathroom, and I don't know who initiated it. I almost feel like I did.
Probably.
I feel like I
think
did.
It was.
Because I was like, I come out of the bathroom and I'm just kind of like uncomfortable. Like, oh man, this is not fun. And I just like sit next to him, and I don't remember if there were people around. I doubt there was because this is very private, but I think I go to him and I'm just like, my tummy hurts really, really bad. And he was just like, oh, mine does too. Like, what's going on? And we're just like, very, very embarrassed to even say what's happening. And we're like, how long is this going to take? So we threw that bottle away. Never, ever did we do an acai cleanse or any other cleanse really no more years. Like now that we're a lot more older and educated around what the body does,
we can do it more strategically and safely. And,
much safer.
Yeah.
So that's a funny story, like around our.
Yeah, that was a rough one, but that's not where it ends though. So let's jump forward a bit.
Yeah, I think you can skip a lot of the fluff.
Yeah, I'm gonna skip a lot. So I mentioned dealing with, just a refresher, constipation, diarrhea, joint pain, back pain, irritability, embarrassment, and so I started to want to figure this shit out.
Stress.
Oh, stress was huge.
Tons of stress. Like, can't forget that one. Like, super stressed.
Yeah, that was the reason why I brought up, like, I'm going to school, I've got all these jobs, Taylor and I's relationship is stressful, food is stressful, people are stressful, everything's stressful, our living situation, blah, blah, blah.
Can I make a note about this, actually?
Yeah?
Because it ties in a little bit about your childhood.
Oh.
And when we were living with your mom and your brothers.
Okay.
So Josh's mom keeps a well-stocked fridge, pantry, freezer.
Yes.
Very, very well-stocked. And so
to this day.
Yes, to this day. And I remember, like, moving in with them and just seeing, like, this abundance of food. Like, I did not grow up with that.
Crap food.
Lots of junk food, but in my eyes, I'm like, oh my gosh, these guys are like rich. Because I grew up, we would go grocery shopping maybe once every 2 weeks, and that was like a big grocery haul from Walmart, and tons of it was junk food too. But the next time we would go grocery shopping was when the fridge freezer pantry was like, we were bare minimum of food. You know, that's like how I grew up.
Yeah.
And in his household, it was like full constantly, no matter what. There was never a lack of eggs, milk, you know, the fundamentals.
Yeah.
But there was also never a lack of junk food. Maybe 4 or 5 bags of chips.
Chips, Oreos, goldfish. Yeah.
Maybe 4 or 5 boxes of different types of granola bars. And then it's just so on. Just like, think about every single item you have in your pantry or your fridge. There was multiple options of. And that to me was just like, oh my gosh, this is amazing. Like, there's literally an abundance of food, even though it was really crappy food, you know. Obviously, there was the vegetables.
There's some goods, yeah.
Yeah, some goods in there too. But I just remember being so shocked. It was such a shock to me at this time. And I'm like, oh my gosh, like, there's so much food.
Yeah.
But
never had a shortage of food.
Yeah, never. And so, anyways, I wanted to just like mention that, just because it plays a really huge role in the quality of food that we both were eating at this time.
Yeah.
And thinking that we were eating very healthy.
Yeah.
And it just was not the case.
Yeah.
And so, just another little side note. My senior year, one of my senior projects was creating a kids' healthy cookbook.
Oh, yeah. I do remember that.
And every once in a while, I'll open that up because I still have it. And my idea of healthy food, oh my goodness, just a little bit of embarrassment there, as you know, to where I am now.
But the ideals were there. The inspiration was there. Like, we wanted to be healthy people.
Yes.
We just didn't know how necessarily.
Yeah.
And your environment also plays a role. A lot of things play a role, but yeah.
So we were trying as a couple. I think that's one of the things that, like, we always agreed on in
Being
general.
healthy, yeah.
Being healthy. And even though we were going through our own, like, health journeys, I was having my horrid menstrual cycles. He was going through all the
things I mentioned,
And we just always agreed on, like, oh yeah, that's healthy. You know, we would even do a little bit of grocery shopping too, even though his mom did the bulk of it. But when we would go grocery shopping, we were like, oh yeah, these little rice-a-ronis are so healthy for you. And I just remember getting like
Campbell's soups.
Yeah, Campbell's soups. Like, oh my gosh, in high school, I was literally obsessed with like canned soup. It's all I would have for lunch, and it was so bad. It was not good. Tons of sodium. I was very underfed, even though I did eat. But I thought they were healthy. You know, it says like protein and low sodium and all of that stuff, and I would eat that constantly. And I also didn't feel like I was taking too much of the food in the house too. So that was my way of like trying to be Miss Independent as well. So some dysfunction in my thought processing there, but but you learn and grow, you know. And so I think that's what we were doing.
Yeah, just
here. We had a lot of pains during this time between the both of us.
Fun story here too.
We got all the stories.
Lots of fun stories from back then. I literally bought myself a couch with, this had 2 seats, right? And then like a middle console in the middle. You've probably seen couches like this. It had cup holders, it reclined. I bought this so I could play video games with my friends. Like we mentioned earlier, always had people over there, as young or late teens, early 20s, playing lots of video games in the evening. And so I literally bought a couch so we could be more comfortable. And it's like a gaming area, much of what you would maybe call a man cave. Not a man cave, but that's kind of how...
It's like the gaming man cave.
It's a gaming area. And so at this time during video games, we'd be drinking sodas like all the time, Mountain Dews.
Chips.
And I would be smashing the Oreos and smashing the goldfish, dude. Like, I remember
The
goldfish
were
was
favorite.
my absolute favorite. I would freaking eat
The big
huge
boxes
box.
from Costco. Always
Yeah.
abundance in this household.
We tell you these details because it all matters. And I feel like some people view us now today as putting us on some like healthy pedestal. It was not always like this. And even today, we're still improving on things. One more funny story. I just tell you guys these stories again because listening to stories, you will find whatever message you take out of it. And hopefully it's a good thing, a tip or value or something. I remember learning how to cook, and I thought I was so freaking healthy and so cool that I was cooking my own healthy food and everyone else was unhealthy around me. I'm like, frick, I'm so much cooler than you guys, man. I would bake tilapia
Oh yeah,
in
I
the
remember
oven,
this.
and I would lather pesto on it from Costco. And I was like, yo, I'm so freaking healthy, man. And so here's a good tip for you guys. Tilapia is not a good fish to
Don't
eat.
eat tilapia. Just
Pesto is amazing.
look it
but
up. Hear us out. Look it up.
Tilapia is a bottom feeder. It's not even a real fish, I don't think. It's a stupid fish. Don't eat it.
Yeah.
That's the point. You can go research it if you want, or message us if you want more info.
I thought you were going to go and tell a different story.
Oh, I would also learn how
Okay.
to cook pancakes with bananas, and I put white chocolate chips in it.
Oh,
I just thought I was so healthy, man.
like I'm eating bananas,
I'm eating bananas right now.
and
Frick.
and chocolate chips.
Yeah, just so.
Which is fine. Quality. The quality wasn't there.
No, quality
Yeah.
wasn't there. But again, aspirations to be healthy were there. They were always there. Just didn't know how to do it.
So I wanted to also bring in when you discovered gluten, because all of your goldfish, your Oreos, all gluten, and you were just eating these things, often.
Yeah.
Right?
Here's another funny story. Okay, during eating all this and the video games and the goldfish and all this crap, soda, sad life, sad diet, I would be straining so hard on the toilet to go, or I'd be sitting there for a while, like my legs would go start tingling. Like, have you ever experienced that? You're on the toilet for so long that your legs start going tingles.
Yeah. Start going tingles.
Yes, I remember this happening often, and I would look up on Google, is straining bad for you, or I can't go poop, or, these types of things. And I remember finding images. I've told Taylor this before. I remember finding images of hemorrhoids, and I would look up it would say if you strain too hard, if you're constipated, you'll get hemorrhoids. And then you have to cut it off. And dude, the images of a hemorrhoid is enough motivation for someone to figure out how the hell not to be in this situation. So that was...
I had no idea. He did not tell me this until years later.
Yeah, we were living together. Yeah, at this time.
Yeah.
And we've talked about one loves before. You must have a dream or a goal, something to motivate yourself to keep going, right? But if you have trouble doing that, you find your nightmare. Well, guess what? A hemorrhoid was my nightmare.
I'm not getting a hemorrhoid.
I don't want this, bro. I do not want this. Someone has to go in my butt and cut this thing off that protrudes out of whatever. What the frick?
You're I'm not getting that.
Yeah. So anyways, that was some good motivation for myself.
That's when you realize straining's not normal.
Straining's not normal. Exactly. Yeah. Exactly.
Yeah. If you're on the toilet and it is just so extremely hard to go just on a regular basis.
You
every
can't
now
go.
and again, it's just maybe that's just I'm dehydrated. Maybe I ate something wrong, or that doesn't fit your body.
Yeah.
But yeah, you learned that just by Googling a couple of things, like, why can't I
like,
freaking
why is this
go?
happening? Why am I having trouble going? And why am I, when I do go, it's like one pellet, like a constipated deer, bro. Like, what the heck? Like, this can't be right. Because guys always joke about, like, bro, I just dropped the biggest poop. Like, it's like something they're proud of.
And you're over here, just little
I'm like,
deer
dude,
pelts.
like, I can't even freaking go.
Like, I can't relate.
Yeah, and I don't know, like, I couldn't tell you, like, how many days or anything. I just remember that specific thing. And so, yeah. During all this time, I'll jump into, like, briefly. Some people might have heard this part. Start discovering, let's go to the doctor, figure this out. Okay, let's go to the doctor. Doesn't know what's going on. Family physician. Suggests that I go to a gastroenterologist to get a colonoscopy. We are in the travel trailer by this point. Again, if you want to know our full timeline, go back and listen to the last 1 or 2 episodes. Prepping for a colonoscopy is kind of like when Taylor and I tried the acai pills, and we're living in a space that's like 10 square feet together.
Oh my goodness.
And, the walls are not thick. The doors are not thick. You can hear things. And I'll tell you what, if you've ever done a colonoscopy preparation or know somebody who has done a colonoscopy preparation, you're going to the bathroom at unexpected times. Like you're just be laying there or sitting on the couch or doing homework, and boom, oh shoot, I gotta go. And it's like that for like a whole freaking day, and then you go and get the colonoscopy, so not a fun time. Anyways, end up not finding anything there, which is a good thing and a bad thing, right? We want to have answers. And then, since there was nothing there, it's like, okay, let's go see the nutritionist. Hey, go on a FODMAP diet. Here's a piece of paper on what foods and what categories. That's it. No support. Well, with no support and a diet, what are you going to do? Not do it, exactly. Like, I'm not going to continue
FODMAP diet, just so everyone knows.
It's intense.
It's extremely intense. Like, you eliminate what feels like 95% of the foods you eat. So it's a very discouraging when you have no guidance on what to even look out for, because they tell you all the foods you can't eat. Well, that was in Josh's case. They just said, avoid all of these foods. And it's like, well, crap, what do I eat then? And I remember being, an observer of this, like, that seems wrong. Like, I just remember being such like, here's the gluten part as well. Like,
Gluten
don't
is
eat
in
gluten.
here, yeah.
Like, I think
the family physician did mention to me, hey, possibly it's gluten after many visits. And Taylor and I got to, be on this gluten journey together, go to the store and try to figure out what the hell is gluten. Like, again, no support, no education. People didn't do it back then. It wasn't popular. The granolas didn't even do this back then.
Yeah. And that was like even earlier than your colonoscopy. Like, I'm pretty sure.
Maybe, yeah.
When we started doing this. So you eliminated that just because you were like, well, if it helps, and you did. And I remember you going to the doctors. This is what I do remember, is that they were like, well, you have to eat gluten.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. They were like, you have to eat gluten for us to test you. And you were like, I don't want to do that. Because it caused you pain. Like, that was something that was like, yes, this does cause you pain. And I remember being in a state of mind where I just did not believe this. Like, I did not believe that a food could cause that much harm, especially bread that had been eaten for centuries, I probably didn't think about it like to that extent, but I do remember feeling like there's no way like that this is causing this much issues, and was so frustrated because I'm like, why can't we just have
Like normal food.
normal food? It was such a battle. I could eat anything and everything.
Yeah,
And
Taylor's
I
a
felt,
superhuman.
and I just
me.
felt like, okay, why are you having issues? Like, this is healthy. And I just remember being so frustrated that I would be cooking all of these meals, like, and according to this like paper, he was no longer allowed to eat onions and garlic, you know, the basics of cooking. And I just was like, well, what the heck do I flavor this with? And so it's a very just like a unfortunate experience that he had to go through.
It was so very unfortunate, yeah.
And then not have much guidance on it, especially with the gluten too, not knowing like what is gluten for one, but what's gluten in.
Yeah,
And there was so many people who had no idea too.
Taylor and I would go grocery shopping, and I remember most of the time we thought, okay, we're being pretty safe here, but then it would be like, dang it, this has gluten. Dang it, this has gluten. It's like, dang, how am I still eating gluten? And it's just so like discouraging. Like, man, I thought we read all the ingredients, or you know, maybe you get a little too lackadaisical and you know don't read something, and it's like, damn. And not very many things were gluten free. And here's a crap story on bread back then.
This was like 13 years ago, so.
I was so desperate for bread. We tried finding gluten-free bread back then, and it was like the only gluten-free bread back then was in a freezer. You remember this bread? And it would break in half like a freaking dry stick. And it was just the
and it
worst.
was so crumbly. There was like nothing you could do to it to like make it resemble regular bread at all.
You couldn't lather it up enough with anything.
And I remember he would just try to eat it and like use it as like regular sandwich. And here I am, an entire jerk of a girlfriend, just like eating my whole wheat bread because I thought that was so healthy. I'm eating my nice soft, you know, bread and there were sandwiches, and he's just like struggling, and I'm frustrated at him, like why are you even trying to eat that? You know, like you don't like it. I'm a very like, if I don't like a food, I won't eat it. Like, so it was just really hard because he would just try to eat it anyways and regardless, and I'm like, what are you doing? Like, just eat something else or find something else or eat regular bread, I think is what my mindset was. I wasn't very supportive.
Nobody in my life was supportive.
Yeah.
Nobody.
And I feel horrible that I was in that headspace, but that also just shows like how our relationship truly was back then. Like we were on our own journeys in our early our teenage years, our late teenage years into our early 20s, we were truly on our own journeys, just side by side. It was not great for the most part, unfortunately. But
here we are. We're doing well.
We're okay. We're good.
Yeah,
we love each other. We've learned so much.
Live, laugh, love.
Yeah. Yep. It's tattooed on his back.
No, it's not.
No. But anyways, I just wanted to mention that too, like how just that there was like just tying back our relationship and how food is so crucial in how somebody feels on the inside, you know, their guts, their on the physical plane, just their body, and how somebody feels emotionally too. Like I just remember him also just feeling so defeated and like depressed, really. Like we both kind of had our own journeys, like with, I wouldn't call it depression necessarily, but it like we weren't diagnosed or anything, but we both experienced like deep sadness, like side by side with each other.
Yeah.
And we were still support of each other in so many other ways during this time frame, but when it came to food, we had very different ideas about food. And so that was a big struggle. But we both still valued health. Like, that was our thing. Like, we still continued to try to, like, learn and understand what that was. So
Yeah, totally. Through all the doctors, I'll jump back to that. Through all these doctor visits, I didn't figure out anything and got put on omeprazole, which is for acid reflux.
Which you didn't necessarily have, right?
I did have.
Oh, you did have.
I did have. That's why they put me on it.
Oh, okay. I thought they put you on it for something else.
No. Well, they might have. Shit, I don't know. But it was for acid reflux was a part of it. Gut problems. So I was taking that for a while and eventually stopped because...
You're supposed to.
Because if we go back to my childhood, I always felt like I knew, but that I wanted to be healthy and that pills were not a part of this.
It's like your intuition was just much stronger than you realized.
Yeah. Could be.
And I feel like having that for both of us, like through our own journeys, like is absolutely huge in how we both got through our health.
Yeah.
But like, he's always been this person who would be less influenced by everybody. And so he was able to go against the grain a lot. And I would say I would probably be a little bit more on the influence side of things. And so I'm like, why can't we just do and be normal? To a degree. I always wanted to do things differently too. But when it came to food, it was just really like, why can't we just be normal?
Yeah, and I realized, my dietary problems, my gut health problems didn't just affect me, it affected everyone. Like my mom had to try to figure out what is gluten. So that's probably hard on her.
Oh yeah, the family,
even
my family.
Yeah,
right?
it affects everybody. And so going to the doctors, you expect to find answers and you just don't. And again, that affects everyone. It's like, what the fudge, man? So we took matters into our own hands, right? And this is when I started exploring different dietary choices. I had found out a GAPS diet from our old yoga teacher. I know she was kind of like skeptical of people sticking to the diet and stuff. And so I was like, hey, I'll freaking try it. I'll do it. And I think this is very ironic. I don't think my mom knew what the GAPS diet was, but she bought us a GAPS diet cookbook because it had a lot of gluten-free stuff in it. Or it was a healthy book.
That's how we got that book?
Yeah, my mom got it for me for Christmas one year, I believe. And Jennifer, our yoga teacher, had told me about the diet. And so I was like, well, let's try it. And so this was also, if you know anything about the GAPS diet, it's a pretty hefty diet. It's developed by Natasha McBride. It is a 6-phase intro diet, and then you go into it's a 2-year, essentially, program, if you will. And so
it's kind of like the maintenance side of things. Right?
Yeah, maintenance once you get through the 6 phases. But it stands for Gut and Psychology Syndrome, and it was designed to help people or kids with ADHD, autism. I can't think of any others, but
I think there's like
psychology,
gut imbalances.
Gut imbalances, yeah.
Bacterial overgrowth, SIBO.
Yeah, eczema, anything like this. And so I tried it. I learned a lot how to cook better foods, make better choices. It was a hard diet.
There's no grain.
Even through this diet, though, I was still having problems because this is important for people to know. A diet isn't always going to fix your problems, even if it's very specific and supposedly gut healing. Like if you have a food intolerance and it's on this diet, you're not going to help yourself. If you have a gut dysbiosis, you're not going to help yourself by this specific diet. Most likely, you have to take certain supplements or eliminate very specific foods for your own body. Otherwise, it's going to be difficult. And I think that's what I experienced. I'd be like, for example, there was this dessert kind of thing in there that I would always make. And I was like, okay, this is supposed to be healthy, but it would always make me have bad gas. It was
it the coconut?
Coconut and avocado with a little bit of mint in it. And I would eat this stuff and I would just feel terrible after. And I'm like, what the fudge, man? Like, I'm on the GAPS diet, I'm following the guidelines, and it's still not working. And so, mentally, you just take note of like, okay, every time I eat this, I feel like crap. Okay, don't eat that anymore. And it just became like a big elimination thing again. Yeah, you just start learning stuff, keeping track of food, and making different choices, and start learning more, reading books, talking to people, listening to podcasts, go to school.
That's what you were doing.
That's what I was doing. Yeah. And then I started going to the Chek Institute, and of course learned more there.
When did you start that?
Oh yeah, this is in 20...
So you're fast forwarding.
Oh gosh, yeah, I'm kind of jumping around, but whatever. 2019 is when I found out about the Chek Institute, because I was still involved in movement and wanted to do that type of stuff. So I was on a movement seminar online, and Paul Chek was on there, and thought he was just smart as crap. And I was like, what the heck? Like, who? I've never even heard of this fool. Mentioned the Chek Institute in his speech, of course, to promote his business. Check it out. I was like, this seems pretty cool. Started going there. And yeah, I've implemented tons of stuff from that school that I think have helped both of us and lots of our clients.
Yeah. I feel like when you joined the Chek Institute that first year, I don't think you realized like what you were getting into.
I don't think so. No, because I had come out of yoga teacher training, and I thought, oh, cool, just keep advancing. I think they did like an interview, and I was like, oh, cool, like you have to do an interview, and they accepted me. But
the Chek Institute.
Yeah, they do that for everyone. I mean, if you're a person, I think they probably accept you unless it's like a really weird situation. But I felt really good about that. I was like, oh, they accepted me. Cool. And so that was exciting, but yeah, I had no freaking idea what this school was going to entail.
Yeah.
And yeah.
But you had the goal of finishing the 5 years. You knew that much.
Yeah, I knew it was a 5-year program, and I was like, okay, I want to do all 5 years.
Yeah.
And so here we are, starting year 5.
Yeah. So you just wrapped up year 4, and you are now considered a...
Yeah, I mentioned it in the beginning, but yes, I am a clinical specialist, so I help people with chronic pain. Chronic would be classified as something that's happening longer than like 3 months. So back pain, shoulder pain, neck pain, headaches, migraines, anything like that, gut problems, fatigue, chronic fatigue syndrome, the list goes on. Thyroid dysfunctions, and same with Taylor's. She helps with most of these things too. But where we're different is since I've gone to the Chek Institute, all my teachers are, well, one is he was a physiotherapist. One is an osteopath, chiropractors. I've had a couple of medical doctors in my classes, which for me is also cool to see. Like, oh wow, it gives me validation that this school is pretty cool, right? Like, oh, okay, trust the system. Learning a lot of things, traditional Chinese medicine stuff, meridians, Tai Chi. It's so well-rounded. From helping people with the physical, the mental, emotional, and having gone through all of that myself, just helps me help people more.
Yeah. Like you said, it's just improved our relationship, especially.
It's been big on our relationship, I think, yeah.
Just being healthier, the foods that we decide to eat, with the knowledge that we know through both of our schools that we've gone to. Yeah, we were just pretty petty and, say dumb remarks that would just kind of get under each other's skin, like before we really understood what health meant to us and before we really found our mission in life. And within ourselves, like you have to have your an idea of where you want to go, how you want to be, how you want to feel. who you want to be. And I feel like maybe 2018 is when we were really trying to figure that out for ourselves.
Yeah, 2018 probably.
I feel like that was a pivotal year for us.
Like, how do we get to the next level of our life?
That's when we began our entrepreneurship journey.
Yeah.
We have learned tons. We have failed a lot.
Yeah. As many entrepreneurs do.
Yeah, we are still learning and growing and adapting and figuring all of that out. But I feel like your pain that you had gone through, like physically, emotionally as well, and spiritually as well, just all of the things, you know, and I say this like with so much love, but you needed that in your life.
Yeah, I think you're right. I did need that pain. That's the hero's journey. You got to go through the pain and then grow and be curious and move forward. I do want to jump back just a little bit and tell one more story.
Okay.
About to graduate college, a semester away, I'd gotten a graphic design job at this place called Tedder Industries. They made gun holsters, and I was so desperate to get out of the Circling Raven golf course. I was like applying to places. I'm like, I don't give a crap if I haven't graduated yet. I'm applying to places.
Again, another thing that I absolutely love about him is he's like, I'm going to just do it anyways.
Yeah. So they ended up hiring me, and I was like, yes, I can finally quit this stupid golf course.
It wasn't always stupid.
No, right? No, that's how I felt, though.
Yeah.
By the time I was like, I'm ready to get out of this place. No, it was a fun, good job, blah, blah, blah. I learned a lot. There's positives, but that's how I felt leaving.
But you were there for 7 years.
I was there for a long time.
7 summers. So I bet a lot of people can relate to like being in a position where you're like, this isn't fulfilling. It doesn't make me much money.
There was no growth.
It's only seasonal. Yeah.
So I get hired at this graphic design place, and criticism has always been something I need to work on. And when you're a graphic designer, you're going to get criticized. And anyways, I remember being at this, I'll keep it nutrition related, being in the marketing office. It was an open floor, and, you know, all the marketing people in there, all these people have been working for a while, and I'm just like the new junior designer, just learning stuff. And I got put on a task to make a brochure, and I remember the CEO, or the owner of the company, they always had like little marketing meetings, and basically you would go in, you would show off the work you did for the week or the quarter, and just kind of give a marketing update. And I remember being so proud of this design, and this guy was just like shitting all over me.
Man.
As my first presentation, and I was like, oh my God, freaking hell. Like, I say this because that stress contributes to digestive problems, and still during this time, this was 2015, 16, that I still was going through a lot of problems. Kombucha, I wanted to mention this. Kombucha was on the rise, and I was drinking kombucha like fucking lemonade. And I thought it was healthy. And I was also starting my days...
Drinking multiple, right? A day.
Multiple. And I was also starting my days with smoothies, fruit, and protein powder. I think it was probably... What's that? Beachbody? Shakeology.
At the time.
Shakeology. And I'll tell you what, I had some bad farts and some bad gut problems during this time.
Also thinking powders.
Powders, yeah.
Are a good option on the regular.
Thinking powders were good, man. And I actually remember sometimes I would drink Shakeology and I would literally just lay on the floor in gut pain. And be like your Nana's house. I'd be like just laying there on the floor in pain.
Yeah.
By the bathroom.
And again, another thing that made me feel pretty good, he just could not have. And I just remember feeling
Shakeology.
Yet again so frustrated that all of these like healthy things that we thought were like working, and like food, I'm usually pretty hearty. Like I'm a hearty person. I still have my issues, like still had gut issues that I didn't realize were gut issues. But for the most part, most of these foods never really gave me like a lot of issues. And so again, it was just another thing we had to learn and navigate through. So.
Yeah. But something I experienced at Tedder Industries, where my graphic design job was tons of stress, which we now know as health professionals that stress is a number one cause of gastrointestinal dysfunction. And I experienced quite a bit of it. I always had this knot in my shoulder. And I know that was stress related because when I quit and went and hiked the PCT, the knot went away. And so did most of the digestive problems. Because I was just hiking and out in nature and
you reduced your stress load.
I reduced my stress load by quite a bit. And I do remember even being at Tedder, like having so many just embarrassing moments. Like I couldn't eat. I thought this would cure me at the time if I just drank fennel tea after or before my lunches. And, I think that really just diluted my stomach acid by quite a bit, even though fennel is supposedly good for gas and bloating and blah, blah, blah. It's not when you're still screwing your system up, when you're not getting rid of the problem. Yeah.
And again, just to add in there, I had no idea. He did not share this with me at the time, right?
No, it didn't. No.
I mean, other than the pain, like, oh, I got, like,
it's so too embarrassing, you know?
Like, oh, I got a tummy ache or something, like masking it. And that just, I'm just like, okay, is it like you got a fart? Like I'm just like oblivious, like, and not understanding the severity of the pain that he was going to. And this is why communication on such a deep level is so important, because I'm oblivious to like what it is that he was truly going through. And that created a lot of frustration for me. And, he's frustrated, like probably like, why does she not understand? But I just didn't have the full picture. And I just think it's so important to like have these discussions, because that's not normal to have this much pain and discomfort, and creates a lot more compassion when you understand a little bit more. So yeah, I would still try to cook you good food. And, we were kind of living on a budget with what we could, afford and whatnot. But
yep. If you think you're being healthy and still having problems, something needs to change still. That's a good message. Try to stay inspired to keep making good decisions, even if you're still having trouble. Reach out to somebody who knows what they're doing. I don't care who it is. Reach out to somebody. And just know, I have heard stories similar to mine. I won't name names, but we had a friend, one of her old, I think it was her old boyfriend at the time, was having similar problems. And I remember hearing that, and I was like, really? Like, oh, so other people go through this? And then I was like...
You felt so alone, right? And hearing that was like, oh my God.
Okay. Well, I'm not alone, but no one wants to share it. Just like I didn't want to share it.
Yeah.
And so, anyways, I hope this story makes you not feel alone. Or if you're a spouse, maybe this helps you know how to be a spouse better. Or if you're in my position, have empathy for everyone else in your life too. Know that it affects everybody, and everyone needs educated.
Yeah.
How to cook, what to cook, where to buy things, so many things.
If you were to list, I don't know, 4 or 5 action items for somebody who's like maybe feeling a lot of pain, discomfort right now, like where do you think they should start?
Get testing.
Testing, okay.
If you're not assessing, you're guessing.
There we go.
Okay, so we want to get a test. A GI map would be probably very helpful for most people. If I'm thinking holistically, I would say list out your top 5 stressors in your life and try to reduce those if you can. Deal with them. For me, it was like job was a big one. Finances were a big one. It's a big one for many people.
Yeah. And finances, which probably stressed him out more, I was like, we don't need that much money.
Yeah, Taylor is not
We're
money
good.
driven.
I'm like, as long as we're happy. I was I'm still very much like that. Like, money doesn't drive me, but you got to get on the same page with your partner.
Yeah, exactly.
So get on the same page.
Hey, well, that brings us to number 3. Get on the same page as your partner.
Or your family, your close...
Your dream team. Yep. You have to have a goal. If you don't
Create
have
a
a goal,
goal.
you have to create a goal. What's the saying? If you don't have a map, any road will get you there. Number 5 would be understand how important quality is in your foods and your sleep and everything that you do. Lifestyle. You have to look at your lifestyle.
Upgrade your lifestyle.
Okay, I've said this before. Here's number 6.
Okay, number 6.
If you are struggling or feel stuck in a position, I'll tell you what my 3rd grade teacher, I think I've told you guys this before, 3rd grade teacher writes on my report card, choose your friends wisely. If your friends are not supportive of where you want to go, you have to find some friends who are in the position you want to be, right? So I mentioned earlier in the stories, we started talking to people who were healthier than us, who knew things. Then that helps you become who you want to be. So find the people who know stuff and hang around them.
Yeah. But so many things that one person can work on, a week at a time. It really does take time to like heal the gut, especially heal the body. It doesn't just happen overnight.
No, it doesn't.
And we have been on this journey for almost 15 years now, and health is just an ebb and flow thing. Like,
yeah, it is.
Like your body just changes from the time you're a teenager to your 30s, and then especially for a woman going into their 40s, even like perimenopause is a big thing. And so like all of these different stages of your life, your body's needs may change. And actually, I won't say may, they will change.
Yeah.
And so you'll always be on this journey, and that might sound daunting to people, but honestly, I think it's really like fun and refreshing in a way. It might be frustrating, but then it's like, oh, I'm learning my body in a different way. I'm just learning her so much more coming from my perspective. I'm learning how awesome and amazing my body truly is. And, I'm speaking just from my experience at this point. But it's really important to find why health matters to you. Why doesn't? And if it doesn't matter to you, why is that? Is there some mindset, like self-worth that you got to look at that point? So there's so many different things. So just understand where you are at in your relationship with your body is really huge. So I feel like that would be another thing to just be aware of. So
I do want to mention, if you're still here, here's a bonus tip for you. Number 8, I think.
7.
Or 7. There's number 7. Break your silence and talk to people.
Yeah, that's a really big one.
Yeah.
We had to break the silence between us, and I feel like that has been just crucial to getting on the same page. Like, we had to break the silence for us, and it makes all the difference. But
it really does.
I hope this podcast was just fun, kind of learning a bit more about Josh's background, who he is, and where he came from, essentially, and just an appreciation that we all can have for somebody who has lived it. Because people look at him and be like, you don't know what it's like to be unhealthy. And it's like, oh no, the stories he can tell would surprise you. Just because someone looks healthy, like they have the muscles, like Josh has always had abs. There's just no matter what, throughout this whole experience, even through his bloating, he would just always have abs. So, people look at him and feel like there's no way you understand like what it feels like to, one, be overweight, which he does help people with, losing weight and whatnot. He may not have had that experience, that personal experience, but he knows what gut health is like. And typically people who are on that weight loss journey have gut problems. So he knows what it's like to fix the gut.
I used to have bad acne too.
Oh yeah, really bad acne.
If you've got acne, let's go.
Yeah, he knows how to help with that. And yeah, he's experienced so much health issues, so many different symptoms that can relate to so many different people. And it doesn't matter where you are in your journey, there's going to be some crossover in stories. And I feel like he's just gone through a lot of it. But we're just breaking the silence, right?
Breaking the silence.
Yeah. So
let us help you so that you can, feel your best in your world and be more happy. And therefore everyone else around you is happier. You perform better. You grow faster. For us, like Taylor said, it took us, would you say 10, 15 years of this learning journey and suffering, I would say.
I would say 13 years.
13 maybe?
13 years. The first 2 years we were just kind of living all willy-nilly.
Yeah. But now...
Not knowing.
But now knowing what we know, having gone through what we've gone through, we have helped all of our clients within a year totally rediscover their vitality and feel their best, or get to their goals, or many things. Reduce headaches, lose weight, fix their knee problems, back problems, all kinds of stuff.
Reduce their pain.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You don't have to do it yourself, especially you freaking men listening. Hey, that was me though. That was me. But I'm telling you, don't do that. Don't do that.
Get the help, reach out. We understand the value of reaching out to people, and sometimes that's just a, family, friend, spouse.
Doctor, physician, health coach.
Yeah, health coach. Yeah.
Yoga teacher.
I feel like our yoga teacher was a really important catalyst in our life as well.
I think so
just
too.
Mentally, on the mental plane for us, spiritual even, and I feel like that really got us into a higher vibration life. We needed that in order to grow and expand who we are as a couple and who we are as individuals. And I feel like we can just keep talking, there's so many things in our life that we can just continue to talk about, but we'll save that all for another episode.
Yeah, let's save it for another day. Reach out if you want. Share your story. We'd be happy to hear you out. So thanks for listening. I have to pee. Maybe I'll keep that in there.
I have to pee.